what's happening around the world and what's happening here at home. A very good evening to you. This is Weekend Primetime News and I'm Sandro Ferdinando. Before we get into our stories in detail, let's take a quick look at your headlines.
Petroleum trade unions to launch strike from midnight today. Prime Minister to meet Indian Premier Narendra Modi on Wednesday. World Bank and IMF praised Sri Lanka's economic performance. Statement from the Finance Ministry. 7 new district organisers for the SLFP. Clean-up operation at Maithripala continues. Final statistics to be made available soon. Wildlife authorities remove razor wire fence following Action TV expose.
President Maithripala has appointed 7 new district organisers of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party.
Issuing a statement today, the President's media division said the 7 new district organisers are frontline activists of the SLFP Youth Front and received their appointments from the President on the 21st of April. Sumudu Vijayawardena has been appointed SLFP organiser for the Colombo district, while ARM Sarath Padmasiri and AAA Latif have been appointed organisers for the Kurunagal district. KP Priyaratna has been appointed for the Trincomalee district, while Rasika Desha Priyaratnayaka has been appointed organiser for the Badula district. MS Zubair and S. Kajanthan have been appointed organisers for the Batiklo and Jaffna districts respectively. Meanwhile, President Maithripala Sirisena visited the historic Kirivehera in Kataragama last evening. President Sirisena also called on and received the blessing of the chief incumbent of the Kirivehera Rajamaha Viharaya, Venerable Kobawaka Dammi Natera.
Recently, the former Chief Minister of the Western Province, MP Prasanna Ranatunga, publicly insulted the Sirasa Media Network. Newsfirst is in possession of information pertaining to numerous illegal and unethical activity on the part of the former Chief Minister. Now, throughout this week, Newsfirst will expose each of these incidents step by step.
In June 2016, Prasanna Ranatunga and his wife were indicted by the Attorney General at the Colombo High Court on numerous charges, including intimidating a businessman. 15 charges were filed against Prasanna Ranatunga and his wife, including aiding and abetting and conspiring to obtain a sum of 64 million rupees via 5 cheques after intimidating an individual known as Suranjit Christian Gerard Mendes on or around the 10th of April 2010. Prasanna Ranatunga, his wife Maureen Stella Ranatunga and businessman Naresh Kumar, the defendants in this case, are alleged to have obtained this sum of money after promising Gerard Mendes that they would evict 24 families living without authorization on a state-owned land in Maithripala, Kolonava, and provide said land to Mendes. This case is to be taken up again on the 23rd of May. The former Chief Minister has also been accused of attempting to forcefully use a plot of land owned by the Urban Development Authority located adjacent to a plot of land owned by himself. The chairman of the UDA noted that following the accusations, steps were taken to rectify the borders of this plot of land and secure the property. Intellectuals say that certain politicians in Sri Lanka may be involved in various acts of corruption and misconduct due to ignorance or a lack of education. They say that an article to consider the educational qualifications of those seeking elected office should be included during the drafting of a new constitution.
One problem is that people with no critical or analytical intelligence are participating in the complex process of legislation. Secondly, we must consider the discipline of parliamentarians, their conduct and their immorality. Thirdly, we must consider the extent of corruption, fraud and the taking of commissions. There is a growing opinion among the public that there needs to be some consideration of educational qualifications when electing parliamentarians. It has been proposed that a document certifying the educational qualifications of a nominee be affixed to the nomination paper. If we can legalize this through the new constitution, then the voter will be able to see who they are voting for and what their educational qualifications are. Then they can elect people who have a better moral code and better discipline.
I will score those policemen. I will not stop there. I could not beat them last time, but the next time they attack us, we will be forced to turn around and attack them.
The citizenry are duty-bound to comprehend the fact that politicos who act in such blatant disregard for the rule of law are inappropriate for elected office, be it in a local government body or in parliament. It was with this intention that Newsfirst launched the Think Before You Vote campaign across the island. More information on the misdeeds of the former Chief Minister of the Western Province tomorrow.
The Petroleum Trade Unions Collective has announced that they will commence a strike action from midnight today, citing 3 demands. The decision was announced at a media briefing held in Colombo today.
The Petroleum Trade Unions Collective says that the oil tank farms in Hambantota and China Bay, Trincomalee, should be brought under the ownership of the Ceylon Petroleum Corporation. In addition to this, the union is also calling for the renovation of the Sapukaskanda refinery.
This is not the inheritance of their parents or the inheritance of the Prime Minister or President for them to set it off in this way. These resources belong to the people. They are only governors. They are not the owners, and they must remember this. From tomorrow, we will launch a strike action across all services. We will fulfill our duty. There will be no fuel as a result of this strike. There will be no fuel at filling stations. Within 2 days, the power plants will not be able to operate. Aeroplanes may not have jet fuel to fly. The government must take responsibility for this. We have held several rounds of talks, but the minister has been unable to resolve this. The Prime Minister has failed. If this inconveniences the public, the government must bear the responsibility. All the different sectors have come together for Sipetco, and we are disappointed that the authorities in government have forgotten this. We have no political motivations. We are doing this to save the corporation.
Meanwhile, the Managing Director of Ceylon Petroleum Storage Terminals Limited says the fuel required by the public has already been distributed to filling stations.
All the refined fuel has been distributed to the filling stations, so the public need not be concerned. You can continue as per usual. They have embarked on this strike action based on several false facts, and we will make them understand this. I believe the minister will hold talks with His Excellency the President before holding discussions with them.
Newsfirst made inquiries from the Minister of Petroleum Resources Development.
In order to do what they are asking, Cabinet must make a decision, and it must be decided on in Parliament. We have not come there yet, so I believe that there is no problem between us. We do not see any cause for disagreement. I believe we can reach an agreement because they too are people who love their country and their institution. So we will be able to resolve it.
Speaking at an event held last evening, Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe commented on Sri Lanka's relationship with India and Japan.
India and Japan are hoping to work together. Japan and India are hoping to build 2 LNG power plants in Keralapitia. They will bear a portion of the cost to introduce new television technology for us. Japan has said that they wish to work together with India on several projects, and India has already initiated several projects here. These include a joint venture with our Petroleum Corporation and the opening of a new trade zone via an Indian company. I am hoping to return to India on Tuesday with the President's message and meet with Prime Minister Modi on Wednesday. We are hoping to bring together ideas from India and Japan to bring progress here.
Finance Minister Ravi Karunanika says the current economic performance of Sri Lanka was given special praise during the ongoing biannual summit of the International Monetary Fund and World Bank in Washington, D.C.
The IMF and World Bank biannual summit, which commenced on the 18th of April, concludes today. Issuing a statement, the Ministry of Finance said Minister Ravi Karunanika participated in the G24 Finance Ministers meeting, where the post of first Vice President of the G24 Finance Ministers Council was offered to him. Minister Karunanika says he held successful discussions with IMF Deputy Managing Director Mitsuhiro Furusawa and that World Bank Vice Chairman Annette Dixon had praised Sri Lanka's economic development performance. The statement reads that the World Bank had also agreed to send a special team to Sri Lanka to inspect solid waste management in the country. Minister Karunanika also met with the chair of the US Federal Reserve, Janet Yellen.
In what would certainly come as a rude shock or an awakening for the government of Sri Lanka, a resolution has been tabled in the European Union Parliament against granting the Generalized System of Preferences Plus or GSP Plus tariff concession to Sri Lanka.
The resolution has been produced by the European United Left, Nordic Green Left European Parliamentary Group comprising 52 members or MEPs. The European Parliamentary Group says that the GSP Plus should not be granted to Sri Lanka because the government's reform efforts, including those that directly relate to the GSP Plus criteria, have not been delivered. The motion says that as per the recent report by the UN Human Rights Council, measures taken by Sri Lanka have been inadequate to ensure real progress and the fulfillment of commitments has been worryingly slow. The MEP's resolution points out that there are several issues in the labour laws in the country as well. It says the process of repealing and replacing the Prevention of Terrorism Act has not yet been accomplished, and the Sri Lankan government is suspected of not adequately tackling the culture of impunity by rewarding military officials accused of human rights violations with government positions. If 376 out of 751 MEPs of the EU Parliament vote for the resolution at the forthcoming plenary scheduled from the 26th to the 27th of April, it would result in the denial of the GSP Plus concession, which would have made Sri Lankan exports to the 28-member European Union cheaper and contributed to the country's export growth, which is vital at this juncture to boost dwindling external reserves.
Relief efforts are continuing to take place in the area affected by the collapse of the Maithripala garbage dump. It's been 10 days since a section of the Maithripala garbage dump collapsed, leaving homes destroyed and causing several human casualties. While relief operations continue with the efforts of the Sri Lanka Army, a special program has been formulated to prevent another collapse. Meanwhile, the government has taken measures to provide a monthly allowance to those displaced and affected by the garbage dump collapse for a period of 3 months. The area affected by the collapse has been categorized into two as disaster zone and high risk zone. The process of providing alternate homes to those who lost their homes was carried out. Some weren't in favor of this, so we provided homes to 30 families who were in favor. We are carrying out a census today on those who are in favor of receiving homes in the high risk zone. Meanwhile, the Sri Lanka Army has decided to move the relief centre at Rahula College, Maithripala to the Kolonava oil storage facility.
At about 2:30, I had taken my children to the workplace and was going to my sister's when she ran out and said the house was sinking. We didn't even have time to run. My sons and I, my husband, my sister, her husband and her 2 children ran. My children told me, "Mother, let's run, let's run." I thought my 2 sons would run faster than me. Then I turned back and several homes which appeared to be flying towards my sons. Then I saw that 50 to 75 homes had been buried. I went there and cried out to everyone, asking them for help, asking them to rescue my sons.
බලනවා විතරයි දෙකේ මන් ටිකක් එහාට ගිහලා බලද්දි ගෙවල් 50ක් 75ක් වගේ පස් ගොඩක් විතරයි මන් දෙකේ මං ඒ වෙලේ ඉඳලාම විලාප දීති හැමෝගෙම උදව් ඉල්ලුවා මගේ පුතාලා දෙන්නව බේරලා දෙන්න කියලා.
3 cousins, the children of 2 sisters, lost their lives when the Maithripala garbage dump collapsed.
I saw it with my own 2 eyes. I saw the elder boy battling with death. They were wearing yellow t-shirts and they looked like canaries. When the wall fell, they seemed to fly. That's what all I saw. When I looked back again, all what was left was a mountain of debris.
There was nothing to be done. It was all over in the blink of an eye. Their story is just one of many families that were torn apart when the garbage dump collapsed. Are they victims of society's neglect, or are they simply just a few more lives buried in the rubbish? What value does a society place on human life? The government has decided to pay compensation covering the total value of homes destroyed in the Maithripala tragedy. Now, issuing a statement this evening, the Prime Minister's office said that during discussions with representatives of people affected by the tragedy, Premier Ranil Wickremesinghe had also noted that a concession would be provided to people who were living in the area on rent.
The Prime Minister's office noted that a meeting was held at Temple Trees this evening with the participation of ministers and MPs and people affected by the Maithripala tragedy. The people had been apprised of steps taken by the government thus far. including providing homes for people who are in favour of leaving the at-risk zone, the provision of a 50,000 rupee allowance until the damage to property is assessed, the provision of a transport allowance for people leaving the area, settling arrears in loans obtained by residents from the Housing Authority, and the payment of compensation for vehicles and other property damaged in the tragedy.
They had several issues, including whether the estimation will only include the value of the land or value of the land and the house. So instructions were issued today that in the case of people who have deeds, the estimation should include land, home and contents. It was also proposed that for people living in the risk zone, the estimation of compensation would include the value of the land and the house. In addition, even those who are living here without authorization will receive compensation covering the value of their homes. There were also proposals to pay compensation for damaged vehicles and other property. We call on the government to please ensure that what was discussed is implemented by officials without revision or amendment.
Politicians continue to exchange their views over the Maithripala garbage dump collapse.
The garbage dump had to collapse for this government to find solutions. Mahinda Rajapaksa's government allocated funds to resolve the garbage issue in Colombo. A sum of $107 million of funds from the World Bank was allocated. There was a program, but it died when this government came into power.
Those who do not like to take responsibility for this problem are trying to level various allegations at us through other people. Garbage has been dumped on our land despite us saying not to. Even in February, I told them not to dump garbage here and that if you do, there will be a disaster. On 3 separate occasions in 2015, we urged the Western Provincial Council and Colombo Municipal Council not to dump garbage on this land. But they did, and after disaster struck, the finger is being pointed at us for the casualties.
There is a group spearheading the protests against the disposal of garbage. They are doing this for their own political objectives. Those who initiated the disposal of garbage at certain locations back then are lying flat on the street when garbage is brought today. It was the ministers of the Rajapaksa administration who took these decisions. It was these unfortunate decisions which have led to this current crisis.
I admit that I too was a stakeholder in this. The previous cabinet could not find solutions to this issue. Various proposals just came and went. Power was transferred to various people, but there was no end to this. Now there is an opportunity to rectify this issue and we require the support of the people. We will end this crisis without passing it on to another government.
A team of foreign experts is coming to Sri Lanka next week to assess the garbage issue here. There is no point in scrutinizing one party or government over this. All of these political parties have governed this country since 1948, so every party should have this responsibility. Pointing the finger is not the solution. The garbage crisis is a problem for the entire country, which is why I say do not treat this garbage crisis as garbage. It is a national issue. We must all come together to resolve this national issue. There is a responsibility which lies upon the public, the politicians, as well as upon the state officials.
Firms which clear out garbage weren't allowed to resolve this problem because if the issue is resolved, those involved will not get the money. Politicians will stop getting money if they allow this problem to be resolved. Once, a Sri Lankan investor in Canada offered to recycle this since he does the same in Canada. But do you know what happened? The former rulers of Mahinda Rajapaksa's administration asked for a share of this person's company, not a portion of the transaction, but a portion of his company. So the provincial politics must be held accountable for this.
If we tap into our conscience, we know very well that there is no point in scrutinizing politicians and officials. The entire Sri Lankan populace must be held responsible for this because these people were buried by our garbage. So there is no point in looking into this matter after a mound of garbage collapsed. It should have happened before it collapsed.
As Sri Lanka struggles with the crisis of too much waste, we take a look at a country which does not generate enough of its own waste and is now buying and importing another country's rubbish. Rome's rubbish is helping to power Austrian homes and it gets there by train.
Rome has been struggling to cope with the rubbish crisis, and Austria has spare capacity at a waste-to-energy plant near Vienna. The Italians are paying an Austrian company, EVN. The waste is transported by train through northern Italy over the Alps and ends up at the EVN thermal waste utilization plant at Zwentendorf on the Danube. Up to 3 trains a week arrive at the Zwentendorf plant. Each carries airtight containers loaded with around 700 tons of Roman household waste. The refuse is incinerated and converted into hot flow gas, which generates steam. The steam is delivered to a neighbouring power station where it is converted into electricity, which is used to power 170,000 houses in the province of Lower Austria.
Minister of Housing and Construction Sajith Premadasa declared open a new building in Berali Helalunugambehera today under the Gamin Gamata Dorin Dorata project.
The project, which was undertaken marking the 24th death anniversary of late President Ranasinghe Premadasa, was completed at a cost of 2 million rupees. I wish to say clearly to our opponents who are levelling despicable allegations at us that it was during their regime that they allowed the garbage dump in Maithripala to become a volcano which destroyed the area. Now they are falsely saying that if various plans were implemented or that if the waste was taken to Petroleum, the matter would have been resolved. You held the presidency for close to 11 years. Why were you unable to implement the Petroleum solution in those 11 years? There is a reason for this. My friends, it is because they couldn't get a commission out of removing a rubbish dump. There wouldn't have been space for their corruption and fraud. Governments aren't formed on top of rubbish dumps. Governments are formed through the will of the people.
And tonight on our investigative journalism segment Action TV, our focus is on the human-elephant conflict and the questionable steps authorities have taken to address this issue.
On the 10th of April, Action TV carried an expose on the fact that the Department of Wildlife Conservation, which had taken a decision to grow lime adjacent to electric fences to ward off elephants, had abandoned this futile endeavour and decided to put up razor wire fences instead. Within 2 weeks of Action TV exposing the dangers surrounding putting up razor wire fences, the department had withdrawn this decision too. The razor wire fence was initially erected parallel to an electrified elephant fence in Kalladi Petroleum, facing the direction of the wildlife reserve. Following the Action TV expose, the Director General of Wildlife claimed the razor wire fences were erected to prevent persons from entering protected areas to engage in illegal activity. If this was the case, then shouldn't the razor wire fence have been erected on the other side of the electric fence? After Action TV highlighted the dangers posed to fauna by these fences, on the 11th of this month, the Minister of Wildlife Conservation and an advisor to the ministry expressed these views.
I saw this story this morning. I am very disappointed with how it was portrayed. It was made to seem to the viewer that this experiment, which was not even a week old, had caused some great catastrophe. We had extensive discussions about this measure. The Wildlife Department sacrificed much and prepared the background for this. We considered many alternatives and decided to test this option with the approval of the Honourable Minister. In truth, the work that you do serves as an eye-opener for us, and we are grateful to you. It is only after they exposed it that I became aware that they were putting up this wire fence in this area.
Several hours later on the same day, that is the 11th of April, either a single elephant or a herd of elephants had broken through the electric fence and had dragged the razor wire fence some distance towards the reserve. While Civil Defence Force personnel were used to repair the damage, within 6 days, several such incidents had been reported. The Department of Wildlife Conservation has spent a sum of 12,000 rupees for each 50-metre long roll of razor wire fence and had enough stocks to cover most of the electric fences in Petroleum. However, as of yesterday, steps are being taken to remove the fencing that was put up in the Kalladi area.
There has been no solution to the human-elephant conflict. Doctors and professors seated in Colombo are embarking on various projects which are useless to us. This is just a wastage of public funds.
The previous lime growing project was undertaken at a cost of 30 rupees per plant and 50 rupees for the maintenance of each plant. Will the Department of Wildlife Conservation succeed in using bona fide advisors to provide a sustainable solution to the human-elephant conflict which does not endanger the wildlife they are meant to be conserving or deplete the nation's coffers? Action TV will continue to monitor the situation.
Today marks 24 years since the assassination of former Minister Lalith Athulat Mudali. 2 memorial events were held in Ratmalana and Colombo today.
Floral tributes were paid to the statue of Lalith Athulat Mudali in Ratmalana today with the participation of a group including UNP Colombo District Organiser Ranmali Gunawardana. Floral tributes were also placed at a statue of Lalith Athulat Mudali near Royal College in Colombo 7. A group including the former Deputy Mayor of the Dehiwala Mount Lavinia Municipal Council, Kesaralal Gunasekara, participated in the event. Born on the 26th of November 1936, Lalit Attulat Mudali received his primary and secondary education at St. John's College in Panadura and Royal College Colombo before graduating from England's prestigious Oxford University, where he became the first Sri Lankan to be elected president of the Oxford Union. A senior lawyer, Attulat Mudali was also the founder of the Maithripala Scholarship Fund. Lalit Attulat Mudali was gunned down by an assassin in Kirulapana on the 23rd of April 1993. He was 56 years old at the time.
The Walk for Values got underway near Nellumpokana in Colombo today.
Walk for Values is a walk designed to encourage the practice of human values and to promote individual responsibility for the collective progress of humanity.
This country belongs to all of us. There was a time when certain people thought the country or part of it belonged to them. There are 19 ethnicities in Sri Lanka, including Sinhala, English, Tamil, Buddhist and Catholic. No matter what our race is, the name Sri Lankan applies to all of us. I am happy that this walk has been organized to promote this idea. We are embarking on this journey with love and compassion for humanity. There are many people in Sri Lanka suffering from poverty. Many people have died from various catastrophes. We are undertaking this walk for them, highlighting the values of love, truth, non-violence and peace.
Mary Kitani of Kenya broke Paula Radcliffe's women's only world record to win the London Marathon today. 35-year-old Kitani crossed the finish line on the mall in 2 hours, 17 minutes, 1 second, the second fastest time in history. And that's all the news for tonight. Do take care and good night.